Hello and welcome to another BuildASoil YouTube episode. Today, we're turning the Ollas on. Season 7, Episode 9, and we're actually gonna fill the Ollas with water today. This is an example one for those of you that did not watch the previous video where I installed the Ollas into the 10-gallon pots. Let me show you, we're just gonna jump right into it this episode. You can see it's been 24 hours, well, not even, it's been less than 1 day since we transplanted. And first, let's take a rundown real quick. Look at how happy they're all. Look at the new color that's coming in. Look at the turgor. Like if I come at this angle, you can see all the leaves are reaching up like this. I love when I see that. Caught throwing gang signs. My buddy Carl would always say that. But in any case, I'm just happy. They took to their transplant super well, and there's no real rush to hooking up the irrigation system because it's such a big bed. So this one will be last. But I do want to show you the full blue mat setup because blue mats are one of those products that really is game changing, but they're for people who like to tinker. And if you just buy a blue mat and don't put any thought into it, you could have some challenges. I think with any automation, but with the blue mats, they're so special to people that really enjoy using them, and they have some differences that are really just so different than the other automations on the market. We're gonna focus an episode just on the blue mat setup because I really wanna go over like how that vacuum tensiometer, like how it reads the pressure required to get the water, what it means, and kind of set you up for success. If you followed us for all the seasons in the very beginning, I would have people asking why I don't use blue mats, and I was like, bro, I don't like them because I flooded my house before with them. But I learned a lot since then. And so what I'm hoping to do is share what I've learned with you so that you can leverage these tools if you want. But today we're focusing on the Ollas. I mentioned we're just gonna jump in, so let's get going. I've got the guide, and real quick before I get to the guide, let me show you what we're working with. These 3 containers are gonna have the Ollas, and they're buried right here. That's what's in there. I just put tape over the top so no dirt falls in there because I didn't have these parts with me when I first put them in. All of these are empty right now. On that video, you can tell, essentially there is a rubber ring here and the rest is empty. This is just a cap like you would have on like a coffee mug, a travel mug. It's an empty cup. It's made of terracotta. So that much water will literally be sitting in my soil, 2 of them. It's a lot. It displaces some of the soil volume, but I think it's gonna make a difference and I really wanna use them. I could have put 1 Olla. I think you could get away with 1 per plant, and then you would just raise your reservoir higher or you'd hand water. We'll talk about the flow and the water volume later, but we will be monitoring with the moisture meters. We installed this one. This is at the bottom of the pot. It's at 44%. Later, when we're done establishing everything, we're gonna do a deep dive on Eco Wits and we will discuss these percentages. On the top, I've got a reading on my phone and I believe this one's at about 38%. So 38% on the top, 44 on the bottom. We're gonna be monitoring that with the Ollas full and we'll make adjustments accordingly. This is brand new to us. So while we've used these and had good results, doing a run like this is new. So don't copy everything we do, more watch it and learn. We'll go over it together. So before I get started, I'm going to show you that you'll get one of these. It shows you how to set up this top device here, which is the insert that connects the water to the reservoir and fills the cup. And there's a rubber ring that goes in here. That way, when it's full, it stops filling up with water and holds that much pressure. So we're gonna show that to you today. That's really all I have to do. And then it has some tips on here, like hand fill your bucket and check for leaks. So I have it on pressure right now. So if there are leaks and I leave tonight, it can empty my entire reservoir through the system slowly. And so what I may do is actually turn off the quarter turn valve right here that plumbs that entire system. That way I don't run the risk of losing any more than just the 1 reservoir overnight on the first night. And I would suggest you do the same thing. When you're setting up something new, you wanna monitor it. You'll see as soon as we hook these up and turn the water in, there's a little bit of dribbling of water and you gotta do an air release, and I'm gonna show you that. Afterwards, you might see a drop or 2 of water from the quick connections, and I feel like it really settles in after a day. So once you're confident that the reservoir is not draining too fast, everything looks good, then you can activate your actual pressure that feeds your gravity system. What I mean by that is the blue mats are actually gonna go through and use the 10 PSI of water. The Eco Wit, the Wit flow, is gonna use all 10 PSI of water. But bottom watering and the Ollas they're just gonna use gravity. They don't need pressure. That's why we have this bucket here. So it takes the pressure on a float valve, and now it's just a bucket of water that can be gravity dripped. So that's why you don't have to do it this way. And remember, I'm doing 4 or 5 different styles here. You should just be doing one. So your life's gonna be way easier. We're trying to cover a lot of educational content in one series. That's why we make it hard on ourselves, but this will be even easier for you. Also, there's some tips and tricks in here. And so plant within a few inches of your plant, like we've got that covered, right? Protect your roots by using mulch. We use mulch. Anyways, it goes into it. I'm not gonna go into the details. I just wanna set it up. So let's get started. I'm gonna show you right here the basic. And so I've got a tape measure. And the instructions are to cut a 3-inch piece of the tubing they're gonna send you, which is just a 1/4-inch quick connect tubing, like for reverse osmosis water. And so we want to make a 3-inch cut. And it doesn't need to be exact, but I wanna be pretty dang close. So I'm gonna do that, and I'll show you why it needs to be 3 inches in a second. Okay, the next thing is that I want it to be a 90-degree cut. So I want you to have sharp scissors, and I want it to be straight. I don't want it to be angled, like a 45-degree angle or anything weird, because when I go to put it in these quick connects, which I'll show you, I could probably do this on a table, but I feel like you're gonna do this in the grow room too. I just wanna show you exactly how it's gonna work. When I go to put this in the quick connect, if there's an angle on here, it'll cause some leaking. It needs to be tight. So you wanna make sure you have straight cuts. And so then what I'm going to do is cut a couple of these, and then I'll show you how we're gonna use them. So this is the tube that's gonna deliver water. And it goes in about this far, which means it'll keep the cup that full of water. The water stops naturally when it hits the water, right? Because there's no way to displace it without air being released. So if I were to put it too deep, it would fill my cup only half full of water. If I put it too tall, it goes near the seal. So they have 3 inches, their recommendation. We're gonna follow that, but I just wanna give you insight onto what it's doing. And then next, you're gonna have, some of them, I think on the smaller kits, they come pre-set up, or on the bigger kits, you'll do this yourself, but I figure like if I cover it on video, you're gonna understand, maybe even before you buy one of these, exactly what it is. And so here's the rubber ring that's actually gonna go in here. And so you just put it on the tube like this. And this is actually illustrated, in case you forget, it comes with it. So there's the rubber ring, here's the tube, all the instructions are there. This cap that goes in here, okay? I'm just gonna put this right on top, right? Preloading it. And then the next thing is that I'm gonna use T's for all of them, except for the very last Olla. I'm gonna have the water go all the way around the back, and on the last Olla, I'm gonna have an elbow. That way, you know, it just ends at the last one. I'm gonna quick connect this right here. That's how easy it is. I just put a little pressure to make sure it's all the way in, and now here's my top. I need to go ahead and make, let's see, 2 are already in, so I need to have 4 of these that I need to have right now, basically ready to go. And then this inserts, and then this screws down, tightening that rubber grommet and creating a nice seal so water can't leak back out. But the problem is, since nothing can leak out and there's air in here, the air is gonna have to escape. So when we first set them up, we want these a little bit loose. It'll allow air to bubble out. Then once we know they're full, one at a time, we'll tighten them back down, and then we'll be locked and loaded. So that's the full setup. That's what I'm looking to do in all of these. So I'm gonna steal this one back so that I can use this bit of kit in all of these instead of this one that was my example. So I'm gonna get that done right now, and then we're gonna start setting these up. So give me just a minute. At least let's do one of them complete. And then what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna have it loop through to the end and come back again. Otherwise I'd be like S-ing through all of them, and the tube isn't that flexible. So I'm gonna go to the end, around in a 180 and back again. So this will be my last Olla right here, where I'm gonna have the elbow. So I've got the elbow right here. I'm gonna go ahead and just put that on. Quick connect, done. That one's gonna go right here, and this one's gonna go right here. So now that that's ready, let me show you what that's gonna look like. And so obviously it'd be better to bury them all done, but I taped this so no dirt would come in, and really a tiny bit of debris gets in there. There's no moving parts, it's not a big deal, okay? But I'm gonna show you what it looks like. So I'll just pull this off, being careful not to get the dirt in there. Realistically, I don't think the dirt would cause a problem at all, but I don't want it to leak. And so I don't want this rubber seal to have dirt in it. So I'm gonna insert that in there, be careful not to get dirt. I'm gonna screw it down, but not all the way because I need to release the airlock. I'm gonna point the quick release this way because that's where it's coming. That's it. So now what I need to do is do the rest of these exactly the same, or with the T's on them. I've got 3 more to do, so I'll just do it really quick. And then we're gonna hook this line up and take this line, we're gonna plug it in, and we're gonna charge the system and see exactly what happens together. So let's just get it done. This is probably gonna go faster than I thought. And then both of these are gonna have elbows, which I prefer to put the elbow on in my hand and then thread it. I don't wanna put downward pressure on the Olla in the soil, maybe causing some air gap in there. I just would rather do it right here. So I'll grab the plastic, bam, quick lock. And so we've got 3 to do essentially. I'm gonna get those done right now. So that one was pretty easy. I'd already used some of these. So these ones actually, looks like I already have the cap on, so I don't need the whole assembly. Because I've already used these ones, I'm just reusing them. Which is easy, it just means the rubber grommet's already in there and everything. So that'll be even faster. You just gotta loosen it, otherwise the rubber grommet's too tight. Once you loosen it, it goes right in. And then we need it loose anyways to let the air out. Now blue mats are kind of the same way. Like when you first set them up, you need to purge the air. And so it's nothing new, it's just that there's a different way to do it for each type of system. So what I'm looking for is when I connect these, I'm gonna eyeball it, but I don't want it to be too tight. Because if I connect them and the quick connects, it's perfect, it's gonna like pull pressure on the Olla. I want it to actually have a little bend, so there's some slack in case I need to move the containers just a little bit. So that's what I'm gonna do. First thing I'm gonna do is set this up. So let's see, I've got the super flex tubing. That's the feed line, here's this. I think what I wanna do is cut this in. I'm just trying to think of what I was gonna do on here because I don't have a fitting, just so you can see. To split the Y off into 2 different types of tubing. You won't have this issue. I'm doing so many different styles on one. And so I wanna find a way to connect all of this. So I'm gonna splice in right over here. I've got the line that comes out of the gravity and then it needs to go to the Ollas right here. So I'm gonna go ahead and just splice in real quick. Okay, and here's my thought. This Superflex tubing works so well, I can probably literally just load it like this deep. This stuff is just so grippy and nice. And I bet you that's enough to act almost as a barbed hook because this is gravity, there's no pressure on it. If we get any drips, I'm going to get a connector that's supposed to be there. But if this works, like so simple, I'd be stoked right now. So now all I need to do is make a cut. I need to connect it right here. Go all the way down and come back. And so let's make it pretty easy on myself where I have some slack here. I'll go ahead and cut it right here. Okay, nice clean cut. I'm gonna hold on both sides and use the quick connect right here. I can feel that's inserted all the way and locked. That's as simple as this is. I need to go down to the end and come back. So I'm just gonna keep on going here, taking my measurements and cutting. Try not to talk too much. Each time I take a little more than I need so it's not too tight, otherwise it puts pressure on the system. Okay, this last one, I need to make like a 180 loop on it. It returns, so let's just guess on a size. That's a little bit for the corner that we're in, a little too big, so I'll cut it down. That's plenty. Man, these quick connects are so easy. I'm almost done now. Okay, let's keep it going. Right there. I suppose you could pre-measure this and have it all exact, but man, setting them up in place just makes sense to me because they're exactly where they're gonna be. Sometimes you can't pre-plan everything. Okay, this is the last one. It's gonna hit the elbow here, and so that'll end, and this will be the last Olla to fill. There we are. See, that's a little tight though. That's too tight, I don't like that. So I thought I had measured enough there, and I don't like to waste, but I'll use this on another setup. I need it to be a little longer than that. It's gonna pull at an angle and it could slightly leak. I'm glad that happened so you could see that tension was just a little too much and it like put angle on this device. Okay, much better. I'd rather it have like some bend than just be too tight. So now you can see it's kind of a flow. It's not perfect as far as straight, but I feel like that's good on pressure. Here's the other thing. If I need to move these plants around, I got a couple inches of room to move stuff before it would actually put unnecessary pressure on the system. Now, here's the next thing we get to do. This is ready to go. It's all pressurized. Let's take a look. Don't mind my mess over here. We're getting ready for the next episodes. But let's take a look here. Come on over here. See the reservoir? It's hooked up to the pressure. That's from our big reservoir on the pump that we're running, and we're gonna use up for blue mats. So now as soon as this leaks, that's gonna receive more water. As I mentioned, I'm probably gonna go turn that off. And so I've got a quarter turn, let's see where it's at. Over here in the corner, I've got a way to shut this water off. And right now, it's here, but that's gonna shut this off too. So I'll probably splice in another line by shutting that off first, putting in another shut off. Then tonight when I leave, I can shut this off from filling. That way if there's any leaks, I'll find out in the morning because that'll be empty and it should not go through that much water because those beds are already wet. It should be barely dribbling any water at all. So let's check it out right now. I'll leave this lid off. I guess really the only step is to open this. This right here is closed. That's why those aren't full. I've got them all open just a little bit. Let me check these back ones and make sure, because those were installed a few days ago. Let's see. Those are a little too tight, so I'm gonna loosen. Now loosening, remember, is just getting the air to purge through the line. Otherwise there'd be no way for it to fill these cups because the air has to get out somehow. So now they're all loose, which means that as soon as I open this, it should start filling them all. We're just gonna watch together and see what happens. Okay, so now the water is gonna be leaking down the line. Now here's the thing, my height, real quick, while that's starting to fill, this is just above the soil surface level. And so that's gonna give you the bottom line level of flow. The terracotta is gonna leak water, okay, right through the sides. And plants can actually drink from this. And then water will dribble back in the top. However, if your plants are growing so fast, the dribble rate isn't enough, you can lift this reservoir up, double the height, and literally double your water flow. I hear it, hear that? It's starting to fill on its own, which means that we're finally getting enough gravity to fill. Let's go look at the Ollas, and let's go see if we see any indication that filling is happening. So I see a little bit of moisture in the very back one. Right now, because there's air open and it's going, typically it fills the front one first because it's just closest, and then it fills and fills and fills, but we'll see. So far, no crazy leaks. It's definitely gonna take a few minutes. So we'll just keep the camera on and we'll keep watching. I can hear it. Oh, okay, look at, see how this one's dribbling up? It's full. It's dribbling over, so now that means all the air's out, so I'm gonna go ahead and lock it down. Then the next one will be full. However long that took, it'll take for the next one. I'm sure it's filling slightly, all of them. I can see the water, so let's see. Let's see if we can watch this one the whole time until it starts to dribble, and then you'll get kind of the idea. It is on gravity, so it's just going as slowly as it dribbles through that tube. So your first setup might take a few minutes. In fact, we may end up just coming back in a little bit and showing you what it looks like once it's been pressurized for a while, but we can always do that another day. Really, I just wanted to show you how to set it up and that you do need to check for air purging and all that. I hear it filling back there, so I know it's slowly draining. And look at, this is pretty cool. Not one drop. These flex tubing is incredible. Honestly, that's good enough for me. There's no pressure on that. It's just gravity, so I'm not worried about it. It's got a long bit on there to grip onto, so we're just gonna leave it. Looks like it's starting to dribble out the back now. You can see some water here. See how it's dribbling now? That means that all the air is out. And so I can go ahead and just shut this all the way down. Now it's just sealing on that rubber seal, so it doesn't need to be anything crazy. I'm just gonna do pretty tight and snug via hand, and that's it. And then what I'm looking for is I don't see any more water running. It's really good. Like a drop would be okay, because I feel like they kind of self-seal after a little bit of water goes through, but I'm liking what I'm seeing. I'm seeing almost nothing happening. I'm gonna go through, now that I noticed opening them up a little more is very helpful. I'm gonna make sure they're fully open here. They used to have like kind of a more complicated setup where you'd have to undo the screw and then, but it seems to be working. It's gonna take a few more minutes. Like it is what it is. It takes however long from gravity. Oh, this one started to bubble. See the air bubbles are coming out? Probably hard to see, but you can see air bubbles. That's what we're looking for. Once the air is gone, then it'll be full. And then we'll know that there's no air in the line, and then everything will stay full the entire time based on how the plants drink the water. So that's good. I think what we'll do is just leave this. I don't want to stare at Ollas forever. They are filling. We covered everything that I wanted to cover. What I'd like to do is set up the next one while that fills, and we can kind of double check. And this one will only take a couple of minutes to do. So let's talk about it real quick. I'm gonna go to an in-depth on the Eco Wits, but essentially just know that this electronic device, I can push a button and turn the water on, or I can do it on my phone, or I can trigger these moisture meters. This one's at 35%. I could tell it, hey, I want you to turn on at 35 and then turn off at 45. And it would increase the moisture 10% automatically through this device. And so what's so cool is we're gonna use these drip rings the same as the blue mats. And all they do is connect right here. And so if I were to remove all this stuff here, so we can get an idea of what we actually need, let me show you how simple these are to connect. Just put away. Okay, all I need is these fittings. And this extra piece of flex tubing. This is gonna go all the way down on the ground, and so I can kind of just drop it, but for now, this will allow me to start. I'm gonna connect it to the end right here. That's how easy it is with flex tubing. And so now we're connected. The challenge is that that's going nowhere. And so now I need it to splice into each container. So let's drop this low where it's gonna be. Move the straw. And I'll wiggle a little bit of space here. In fact, I may just kind of leave it, because if I drop it down low, I don't want the water to get pinched. So I might just kind of hang it like that, since there's very little space in between these containers. But essentially all I need to do is I need to splice this in. So since I've got lots of lead, I can cut it to any height I want. I do want flexibility in case I move this on the floor in a little bit. So I'm just gonna splice in right here. There's no water on, so I can just cut. Okay. Then what I'm gonna do is take this connection here that's got the little one for the little tube of Superflex. And that just goes on there, and now we're ready to drip right into the ring. This goes to the water source. And then this goes to the next one. Similar to this system, when we get to the end, we're just gonna use an elbow instead of a T, and that's all there is to it. So let me just finish this. I'll show you in my hand. I've got an elbow for the last one. I got a T for the middle one. That's all we're gonna do, and literally this is done. That's how fast and easy it is to hook up the drip rings on an Eco Wit system. I love this flex tubing so much. It's just too easy, it's ridiculous. And then this one's really easy because I just put the elbow in, no cutting. And because it's flex tubing, it's really flexible, so I can move these pots or reuse it in the future. I don't have to be so specific on how it's all set up. As long as there's no kinks in it and the water can flow, we're good. And this one's actually gonna get to use pressure, so it'll water pretty well. In fact, we're gonna get to fire it up right now and see. So these are still filling. I can see that this one's got almost all the air bubbles out. That one's done. Man, that one's just bubbling like crazy. Well, I'll let that do it for a minute. Let's go check this one out. So come down to my level. And so what we're gonna do is look for this drip ring to be firing. And so I'm gonna go ahead and just use, instead of using the app, I'm just gonna push the button. There's a button right here. So water's now on. And then as soon as the line fills, it's gonna purge the air out, but this one does it automatically because it just uses the pressure to push air right out the drip. And then you can see these dripping. So that's how it's gonna water. All the way around evenly. And actually you leave them kind of floating so you can watch that drip activity. You don't want roots to chase up in there and block the drip emitters. And so all three of these are watering right now. You can see all the way down the line. They're all dripping, they're all doing exactly what they're supposed to do. And I'm gonna set up an actual formula. And when we do the deep dive on the Eco Wit day, I'm gonna go over just a standalone video of how to use the Eco Wits. We had to hook up 8 meters, so 4 top ones and 4 bottom ones to one gateway. And I'd already used the gateway, so I had to learn how to actually turn them off and enter the serial codes in and make sure that I could switch which devices were on which. And I wanna go over some of that stuff with you, so we'll do a deeper dive. But man, like these are already set up. This one was super simple. Obviously, you don't lose the soil space like you do with the Ollas. But these ones can kind of individually drink each Olla. So that back plant, it might never refill those two if it grows slow. Where this one, if it drinks more, can get more water. Where this is just off of 1 meter. The only way for me to get each plant individually watered according to its own needs would be to buy 2 more of these, 1 for each plant. And so then I could have a formula that unlocks and opens the water based on each individual moisture meter, but that's a bigger investment. And so you literally could have one of these for each tray to go, or auto pot, or one of these for each of your 100-gallon beds. Or you can have one like I'm doing, fire all three and hope that they're similar in moisture requirements. And that's what we're gonna do. So we'll just kind of keep up to date on that. What I'm gonna do now is turn these off since I don't need the water on. So I just push the button and now the water's off and we're stopped dripping and I could hear the pressure increase behind me on the Olla system, which I'd like to finalize and check up on right now. Looks like all the air bubbles are gone out of the back two now. I see clean water flowing, so I'm gonna lock it down now. Now, if you have your reservoir a lot higher in the air, you're gonna notice a slight bit more leaking while you're doing this just because there's more pressure behind it, but they work pretty well regardless. I have one at my house where my reservoir is about this high because I have less Ollas in there. I want them to all water a little more each. So now we're only waiting on the last two. So this one's filling and this one's filling, and then when those are done, we'll shut it off. And instead of waiting for that to happen, we're just gonna wrap up this video. And as I mentioned, I'm gonna put a shutoff valve on this because this is gonna stay full. And if that leaks at all on the first night, I'll know because that'll be empty. Where if I leave the pressure on, I won't know. It'll empty the whole trash can and it could flood in here. So it looks like it's working. I don't see any leaks. I could probably just wing it and leave this on pressure, but I wanna teach you to kind of make decisions that have a lower risk profile, and it doesn't take any effort for me to just turn this on tomorrow. But if I do make a mistake and it floods the entire reservoir in here, it would be a long time for me to fix because that's such an excessive amount of overwatering. Look at, these are done. I got to do it all on camera. So this is done. You can see the water here. No more air bubbles are coming out, just clean water. So now I can lock that one down. And that'll be the final amount of pressure locked. So let's see. That should basically stop now. Yeah, I don't see any more water movement. So everything looks like it's holding with no leaks perfectly. But when I come in to do the next video, we're gonna revisit this and I will unlock the pressure on there. We'll make sure so we don't have a flood. And that's it. That's setting up the Thirsty Earth Ollas system, which you can get directly at BuildASoil.com. Also support, the guys here have been watching me using them. We've used them in a couple different styles already, so we're happy to share what we found with you. And then next, what we have coming down the pipes, we've got to set up the blue mat system with the carrots. And then if you notice, I did set one of the auto pots up. It's not installed yet, but I have the copper root blocker here. This blocks the roots from growing into the valve. I have the tray. Next on camera, I'm gonna put the valve in, and then we're gonna put the next two in, and we'll have this plumbed into the same water line from the flood tray, or sorry, from the gravity. And that'll mean that everything's set up, all the different styles. And then during that blue mat day, we're also gonna do this blue mat, and we're gonna go do a deep dive on how blue mats work, why you might wanna use them, the differences between the systems. And then this one will be on drip tape. And we'll cover the differences between the drip ring and the drip tape and how it works. Now that my bed's set up, it'll be easy for me to put my lines where I want them and show you about how they work. You can bury them. I'm probably just gonna leave mine on top, but we'll cover all of that coming down the pipe. And then immediately after that, we get to put scrog screen up because we're very short veg time. And then as soon as I put the scrog screen up, that'll buy us enough time where I don't have anything to do in here. And we're gonna do more conversation about like the environment. We'll get to talk about the supplemental feed schedule. Right now, I'm glossing over some of that stuff because I just need to get the weakest link done. Transplanting has to get done. Irrigation setup has to happen. This many plants in here, they're gonna get this whole space full so quick, I've got like no time. When you put one plant in a 4x4 and you veg it for 2 months, you've got all the time in the world to get your stuff dialed in. So this is a different season for us. I'm hoping to show you how I think you should grow at home because realistically, if you've got one 4x4 bed, it's like one plant. I mean, if you have one plant in there, it's the same thing as if you have 16 plants in there. The only difference is that you're wasting electricity and time on vegging where you could have lots more flavors. The other challenge with this is some are gonna get taller and some will stay shorter. With clones, that's not an issue. But with seeds, it's definitely gonna be an issue. So we'll be covering some of that training and show you a little bit of what we do to help manage some of that. But one thing you do notice, lots of height here for us to deal with. We're in a gorilla tent and the gorilla has a height option to extend. If you're in a shorter tent, this style will work even better for you because we're gonna go to flower very short with a higher plant count instead of getting a big plant filling your whole tent. And that's, to me, a waste of money and sometimes can lead to other problems. So that's it. I think we covered everything. Thank you so much for watching. As usual, subscribe to the channel, We're age restricted, so it really blocks a lot of our like content distribution. And the better the algorithm, I know people say that a lot, it really helps flow across our entire business. Realistically, we're in a numbers game. I'm out here living my passion, working with other producers that make other products and putting them into a platform where we could have never competed with the big boys before. And to do that, we just need little tiny percentages. So if hundreds of thousands of you watch this video and a fraction of a percent make an order, we all get to live our dreams. So that's why I'm asking, if you haven't done so already, go hit the subscribe button. It'll keep you notified when the videos drop. Updates are gonna be coming for the Patreon group, for our Discord private area. We're gonna make a new, for the second half here, coming into 2025, the end of 2024, we're going to be revitalizing our plans there. Some more involvement in the group there now that we're more organized at BuildASoil. So please, if you haven't done so, if you wanna support this content, it costs a lot to produce. It takes a lot of time out of our day to produce it. Join the Patreon, just at a contributor level. It helps make sure we can pay for video editing and all of these different ideas that we have. And then besides that, of course, like this stuff, tell your friends about it, share it on social media. It makes a huge difference for all the brands involved. And until next time, I'll see you all on the next BuildASoil video.